While making this video, I discovered that the old PS2 had many exclusives, way more than what would easily fit into one video. So I've decided to turn this into a recurring series, and hopefully, if I get a good response, I'll make more of these. Let me just start by saying that I actually considered Rayman 2 Revolution as a PS2 exclusive, since its level design is so different from the other versions, but sanity prevailed and I knew that including it would raise some eyebrows. With that out of the way, let's start with the list.
Are you telling me we're driving into a witch hunt, Mulder?
If you want to catch witches, you have to go on a witch hunt, Scully.
And I assume there's a reason other than one of the girls wears a pentagram to make you believe they both practice witchcraft.
Those fingers...
Presented as a fully fledged episode of X-Files, Resist or Serve is part adventure game and part survival horror. It combines the two elements in a unique way that I thought was very interesting. Combat is a little clunky at times, but as a huge fan of the television series, I'm willing to overlook its shortcomings.
Are you ready? Go! 4 right, into 3 left.
Evolution was the last WRC game made by Evolution Studios, before they switched to the MotorStorm series. They went out on a bang though, because it was one of the best reviewed rally games on the PlayStation 2.
Master Jak, this is Jasner Colton, Lord Chamberlain of Radiata.
Really?
Really? Jak, your manners! Bow to his lordship!
But what about...
As an unassuming gamer, you will definitely be surprised by the humor in Radiata Stories. It's the funniest JRPG you will ever play, but the art style has aged really well, and the graphics greatly benefits from upscaling. Honestly, it's a really good game, with a solid story and decent combat. As the name suggests, R-Type Final was supposed to be the last game in the series, but it was successful enough to warrant 2 sequels. It is one of the best horizontal shooters ever made though, and with a fairly challenging game loop, enthusiasts should give this one a try. It's definitely worth your time. Hot Shots Golf 3 was arguably the pinnacle of sports games during the PS2 era. It had relatively simple mechanics, but a lot of the challenge lay in the course design, which punished mistakes quite severely. Landing in bunkers could cost players several strokes, as I had learned to my detriment. There were 2 Maximo games on the PS2, and they were actually successors to the Ghost and Goblin series. They were meant to be exclusive to the Nintendo 64, but delays meant that it ended up on Sony's console. Ghosts to Glory is a great game, but Army of Zinn has several improvements, and it's a bit longer as well.
Hostile down.
Hostile down! Do we know where the rice will be?
24, the game, plays off between the 2nd and 3rd seasons of the popular show. Its main strengths are clearly the well-developed narrative and the impressive visuals. Gameplay was heavily influenced by other well-known titles of the time, most notably Enter the Matrix and 007, Everything or Nothing. In War of the Monsters, players take on the roles of monsters in city environments. Technically, it's a fighting game, but with beat-em-up elements thrown in for variety. It's fun while it lasts, but can get somewhat repetitive after a while. Urban Reign was an action beat-em-up that allowed for co-op gameplay. It could easily be played single-player though. It's a lot of fun, but enemy AI lacks a bit of challenge. The game is mostly aimed at the casual crowd, so don't expect to be blown away. This was the last of the Bloody Raw games, and the second on PS2. Essentially, it's a fighting game where characters can transform into beasts to give them enhanced capabilities during gameplay. There are better fighting games on the console, especially if you're searching for fast-paced combat. In that regard, Dead or Alive 2 and Virtua Fighter 4 will serve you better. Shining Force Neo is a traditional role-playing game, and I have to admit, I liked it a lot. It's easy to get into, with controls that automatically lock on to enemies. The learning curve is also very reasonable. It's not especially unique, however, giving off some generic vibes that are hard to overlook. You might be forgiven for thinking Steambot Chronicles was developed by Level 5 Studios, considering how similar the art style is to games like Dragon Quest. But actually, the developers were more known for R-Type. This is a really great JRPG though, so you should give it a try. Haunting Ground leans more heavily on suspense than survival horror. Nevertheless, it is reminiscent of Capcom's Clocktower series, where the protagonist has to run away from enemies and hide. However, on occasion, the protagonist does have to fight. Later on, you also get a canine partner to help against enemies.
Huh? Hey Yuki, look at that!
I told you, I'm a little busy right now! Huh?
Grandia III tried to change things up with the story. You play as an aspiring pilot who inadvertently becomes involved with a plot that threatens the life of an elven princess. It sounds predictable, but the characters are charming, and you really root for the main character. In my opinion, it's a criminally underrated JRPG. If you consider just its influence on the industry, Gran Turismo 4 is quite possibly the best racing game of all time. At the very least, it's the last racing game to offer a compelling single-player career mode. The amount of vehicle customization available to the player is unparalleled, even today.
This is it. If I drink this, everybody will disappear.
I must admit, I don't know what to make of Echo Night Beyond. It's a FromSoft game, and weirdness was sort of expected from the developer back then. I guess it feels like a very early walking simulator, but nowhere near as polished as they are today. If you're looking for something different though, Echo Night may be your type of game. Resident Evil Dead Aim was unique because the player explored environments in third person, but had to switch into first-person mode to shoot at enemies. So it's not an on-rails shooter, but it certainly can feel like one, given the aesthetics. I used a controller, but a mouse would definitely be more suitable for precise aiming.
Enemy spotted. The situation was compromised, so I opened fire.
The Socom series was a mainstay throughout the PS2's life cycle. They were tactical shooters, and in my opinion, the second game was the best of the trilogy. If you're interested in multiplayer, PCSX2 does have support for online servers. Both Kim and Shigo are playable characters in this side-scrolling platformer. Movement relies heavily on parkour, and I'm a big fan of the level design, which fits the controls very nicely. This game would surely be very popular on Steam, but unfortunately it's stuck on PS2, so emulation is our only option. In terms of graphics, Gungrave Overdose is a bit of a downgrade when compared to the original. This was done to prevent slowdowns on the console. But I think it looks alright and the animations are definitely smoother than before. Its single-player campaign is also 3 times longer, which is a bonus. If you like action games, this will scratch that itch. Okay, that covers the first 20 games in this list. I'll go a bit faster now, since I know you guys have other things to do.
You had it coming.
Cut the lettuce.
You got to heat the grill.
Heat the grill.
Yeah. Toast.
That's it. Stop it!
Target's down. I mean, got him. He's down.
I promised a follow-up to my first video if the response was enthusiastic enough, and since I'm happy with the result, there's no reason not to make another one. This video will include even more games than the last one, so enjoy. Level 5 is famous for its robust catalogue of JRPGs, but none are better than Dark Cloud 2. It's their magnum opus simply because it has the best story, best gameplay, and best progression. What I like about the game is that you level up weapons, not characters. It means you have to choose weapons wisely, since some investment of time will be required to maximize their abilities. spy fiction is definitely more than just a cheap Metal Gear knockoff. It brings some new ideas that sets it apart from other stealth action games. Despite this, it has fallen into relative obscurity, and I only discovered it after doing research for this video. It is deceptively good as long as you keep your expectations in check. Cold Winter is about as close to James Bond as you can get without actually playing as James Bond. It was one of the very best shooters on the PS2, and the story had enough meat on its bones to make the campaign enjoyable for fans of espionage. Honestly, only Black had better combat than Cold Winter, so you should give it a try. Konami used to be prolific in the gaming scene. They made all kinds of games, including this awesome driving simulator. It was very ambitious for its time, featuring accurate car models and realistic racing tracks. It wasn't as easy to get into as Gran Turismo though, which might explain why it wasn't very successful.
Here it comes.
No JRPG series can boast to have combat like Shadow Hearts. It's truly unique, relying on a so-called judgment ring, which has coloured areas on its surface. The player needs good reflexes to hit the correct markers as the pointer passes over them. It demands a level of skill that most turn-based JRPGs lack. Shadow Hearts Covenant also has a great story, in case you're wondering. Ruff Trigger borrows elements from other platformers on the PS2, although it lacks some polish. That's not to say it's bad, it does have a certain charm to it. However, I often had trouble locking on enemies when shooting or jumping from platforms because of the wobbly camera. Having said that, if you like the Ratchet and Clank games, or even Sly Cooper, this will be exactly what you're looking for.
I know you're still shaky, but you will be better soon. I'm so relieved.
Siren was written and directed by the same person who made the original Silent Hill game. And that's not surprising, given the story and creepy atmosphere. As for the gameplay, there's a lot of trial and error involved. It's not always clear what you have to do, and the game requires strict adherence to move the story forward. Still, it does horror really well, so if you like to get scared, this one's for you. God Hand is a comedic take on the beat-em-up genre, taking inspiration from both Western and Japanese cultures. However, the combat is seriously well implemented here, requiring strong focus from players to get through levels. And I'm not kidding here, the game is very hard at times. Just a fun fact, Shinji Mikami directed God Hand, so there's a lot of pedigree here.
Checkpoint. 100 left.
Thanks to a fan patch that translates the game to English, we can finally play Sega Rally 06 outside Japan. It's more arcade than simulation, and the driving physics certainly feel loose when compared to contemporary rally games like the WRC or Colin McRae series. But if you like those classics on arcade, this will be just right for you.
Out of school seems uncharacteristic of her. So she must have a good reason. Why any student of mine would dare enter such a dangerous tournament is beyond me.
Rumble Roses has an all-female roster, with each playable character having a good and evil version to fight with in the ring. It plays very much like any other wrestling game. In fact, it was built on a slightly modified engine that was used in WWE SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain. My interest in wrestling doesn't go beyond casual, but I must admit that the ladies are nice to look at.
Make it true. Never again to cry alone. Shadow. Is someone there?
The Wild Arms series has been a mainstay for Japanese gamers since the PS1 days, but the fourth installment was easily the best. I found the playable characters to be the most likable as well. The Hex combat system is not overly complicated, although it does offer some depth to gameplay.
Is he okay? That doesn't look too healthy.
The force of chaos is overpowering him. Abaddon is
Boasting cutting-edge graphics, Primal was essentially the most cinematic game on the platform. And when upscaled with PCSX2, it could pass for an early PS3 game. That's how impressive it was. The narrative is interesting too, revealing some plot points only near the end. And the lead character can transform into a demon. If that's not enough to make you want to play, I don't know what will. Jet Li, Rise to Honor is a really good action game. It's essentially a beat-em-up and requires that you attack enemies by moving the right analog stick. It may sound clunky, but the combat works better than you think. The presentation reminds you of a martial arts movie from the 90s, and there's a lot of flair to the gameplay, making the experience memorable. Clocktower 3 has almost nothing to do with the previous games in the series. It has a brand new protagonist who is tasked with a mission to destroy evil spirits. There's almost no combat in the game either, so mostly you'll have to hide or solve puzzles to progress the story. It's also not very long and can be finished in about 7 hours.
Wait for it, go!
Jak X Combat Racing is actually integral to the overall story in the Jak and Daxter universe. It addressed plot holes that had been left unanswered in the previous games. The racing itself is nice and fast, and shredding your opponents with weapon power-ups has never felt more satisfying. In my opinion, the Drakengard series only reached full potential on PlayStation 3, but that's not to say it was bad on the PS2. In fact, it was really ambitious for its time. The gameplay loop revolves mostly around hack and slash and aerial combat, and both of these facets allow for upgradability. It's not very deep, but it works well enough. Final Fronts is a scaled-back reimagining of World at War, which had been released for 7th-gen consoles. This version has a simpler level design and runs on a different engine, but I thought it was still a decent Call of Duty experience. It has all of the tropes we've come to expect from a military shooter, and I like that there are 3 theatres of war, which offers more variety. There were 2 Resident Evil Outbreak games. They played more or less the same, but with different scenarios. Their main feature was the fact that you could play co-op with friends. I would even say you really have to play co-op because your AI companions are stupider than the zombies. On PCSX2, multiplayer is certainly possible, as long as you have people to play with.
Let's see how you like this. He got away. If the engine will work.
What I like about Tales of Legendia is that the story unravels organically while playing. You're not bombarded with lines of exposition which will roll off your head. And while the combat is hardly unique, the fascinating lore will really keep you motivated to keep playing. Another strength is exploration, which rewards players with useful items that can be used in combat.
One has fallen without realizing his final hope.
Onimusha, Dawn of Dreams, is all about balls-to-the-wall action. The game just never stops bombarding you with enemies, and you must try to survive every wave with good timing and lots of skill. The game failed commercially because it was released after 7th gen consoles. Just a word of advice: get the NTSC version because it has better audio quality than the PAL version. Jak X2 looks easy on the surface, but as soon as you start racing, the water current will be working against you. So you can't just go with the flow, you must rev that engine in order to get where you want to go. But if you go too fast, you will overshoot and miss the pylons. That's why this game is so underrated. Plus, it must have the best looking water effects I've ever seen in a PS2 game. Rule of Rose became notorious for two reasons. Firstly, it got banned in several countries because of false claims that it contained sensitive material about young girls. Secondly, it's currently the most expensive PS2 game due to its rarity. All that aside, this is a really good game. It has great graphics, a good story with an unexpected twist, and it's very esoteric, which I like. Nanobreaker feels like an early draft for Metal Gear Rising. It's not surprising, since both games came from Konami. In any case, Nanobreaker was built on the same engine as Castlevania, Lament of Innocence, and it's quite impressive, benefiting from responsive controls and fast-paced combat. The combos can be hard to pull off, but that's why some hardcore gamers will like it. Okage, Shadow King was first planned for the original PlayStation until delays moved the game's release to PS2. You can tell that it's not graphically astounding, but its appeal lies with its main character, who has a demon merged with his shadow after a ritual summoning. It plays very much like an average role-playing game, but the overall progression is really good.
Unidentified craft, commencing bombing!
The Lethal Skies games are widely viewed as the poor cousins to the Ace Combat series. Still, the controls are somewhat easier to master, and I like that you're thrown into combat from the start. There's no protracted tutorial section that treats you like an idiot. You essentially learn on the go, as it should be. Without wasting any more time, let's get to the honourable mentions. I'll keep quiet from now on.
Third is Michael Schumacher. Kimi Raikkonen is right on his tail. Alonso fifth. Sato is sixth. Fisichella
Alright, if you got this far, please consider giving a like. It really helps with the algorithm. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.